This podcast was produced with the financial support of the European Union and the Culture Fund. Contents are the sole responsibility of Aloud and do not necessarily reflect the views of the European Union and the Culture Fund.
Hello, hi, Dumelang Linjani. My name is Nozipho Moyo, also known as Mapo. This is Girls Aloud podcast. This is I always say this anyways. This is an all girls and all things female podcast. It's a podcast for every woman, every girl, every young lady out there. So today I got a very interesting topic. Can you imagine? We're talking about the LGBTQ society. So just join us as we talk to Nozipho Moyo, the co-founder of Sex Workers Alliance, executive director for Africa Kiburi, the conveyor of African Queer Youth in Indaba 2020, to tell us more about this LGBTQ society. Hi Nozi, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so can you just tell us, what does LGBTQ stand for, like each acronym?
Okay, so the LGBTQ is used mainly when you're referring to key sex minorities. Specifically, L is for lesbians.
Okay.
The G, so lesbians are women who are attracted to other women.
All right.
G is for gays, men who are into men.
Okay.
B is bisexual. When you are a woman and you're also attracted to men, or vice versa, men are also attracted to men and women.
All right.
LGBT, T is for trans. Trans are people who feel they're caged in a wrong body. So they're trans men or trans women, so it's more of transsexual. And LGBTQ.
Yes.
Q is for queer, anything that is a bit out of the norm when it's linked to issues of sexual orientation or gender identity.
Okay. All right. So there's always a question of nature and nurturing when it comes to sexuality. Which is that?
Well, I'm really no medical doctor, but all I know is sexuality is very fluid.
Okay.
One day you're attracted to something different, but it does not go on to say we have peaked, that people have always had queer traits even at a young age. So I don't think, I feel the question on its own is very subjective.
Okay, so how is the LGBTQ community in Zimbabwe?
Like how big?
No, like is it permitting? Is it very free in Jani?
Okay, so you notice the visibility of queer individuals mainly in town cities and the two metropolitan, only because people have found a collective safe space, which is usually at institutions established for queer minorities, depending on where people fall.
All right.
So the community is there. If you look at the demographics of the population, you would say 2 to 5% people, according to statistics, are part of the LGBT community.
Okay, I was about to ask, would you say it's a queer minority, or it's because of maybe people are just afraid to come out?
Yes, that's the thing. I feel everyone is very queer.
Okay.
Take, for instance, if you look at the survey on married couples, heterosexual couples.
Yes.
And you talk about people who are really enjoying anal sex.
Yes.
The men are really penetrating the women's asses. But the difference is that when a man is penetrating another man's, it's like
gayism.
It's gayism, but people are enjoying anal sex. It's like a new trend. Everyone is vibing with it. So really, everyone is queer.
Okay, in their certain way.
Yes, everyone is queer in their certain ways.
And girls kiss girls. And
it's very normal for a girl to kiss girls. It's very normal for a girl to hold another girl's hand or to experiment. But no one has really... And there are many people who have those attractions, but because of how the community has been hostile, there are very few people who are actually coming out, for lack of a better word, to say, hi, I'm called X, and I'm attracted to the same sex.
But then why do you think it's taking so long for people to accept as more in queer society?
It's an issue of systems.
All right.
If you talk about issues of patriarchy on its own deals with, when we talk about the reason why feminism came was just the notion of saying women are women.
Yes.
So in other words, we're saying we need to subscribe to what another gender might feel or say.
Okay.
And then you move on to issues of the systems around religion.
Okay.
People would use the Bible to really trap issues of gayism, but no one has actually talked about adultery, fornication.
Okay.
So as a society, we tend to judge people because they sin differently.
All right.
That's the loophole. And also we look at issues of media. How has media portrayed? Because there's the branding. If you talk about queer, the moment you say queer, it means it's out of the norm.
Yes.
And it's no one just wakes up and you can acknowledge, but
yes.
it does not mean there's an issue of appreciation.
Okay.
So there's just a lot to do, issues of tradition, culture, but that's just a fallacy because you have a whole Uganda king who was once a king who was very gay. So people want to do as if it's not there, it's an African, but it has been there.
Okay, so but then why does coming out remain an issue, for lack of a better word, like you said earlier? Why is heterosexuals doesn't have to come out at all?
I'll speak as a Pan-Africanist. I feel the concept on its own is foreign.
All right.
And I've never understood. If you're speaking,
I'm sorry. You just said that you think the concept is foreign.
Yes.
Okay, what do you mean it's foreign?
When I say it's foreign, it's un-African. You see, when it comes to issues of
yet we've had so many gays and lesbian Africans queers.
Yes, it's true. But I just want us to understand the history around it.
All right.
Lately, with as we entered to the fourth revolution, take for instance COVID, we had a lot of people using TikTok to come out with the rash challenge and so forth. But this is the thing: 4 generations ago, there were always queer people.
Yes.
But there was never a forum to stand on a mountaintop.
All right.
And to tell the world, hey,
this is what I am.
This is what I am.
Okay.
So it has also been as we program for key populations and having donor funding coming mainly from outside Africa, where legislation has been more progressive in appreciating key populations, we tend to copy some models like maybe from Netherlands, from America.
All right.
But in all honesty, when you're in Africa, depending on the context and actually where you are, it's very risky, and we would never encourage people to come out because I've already mentioned the issues of legal framework, the issues of even the family setup. Because an individual comes from a community, what do the neighbors say? You come from a church community, what are they saying? You're from school. So, as I'm saying, as Pan-Africanist Ubuntu Betu, at times,
okay, fine. Yes. So, what are the most offensive terms thrown around for abantu queer community?
People use vernacular languages and they use derogatory terms. Like in Zimbabwe, Banoti, in Gochana or in Ndebele, they say Istabana.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so like, what forms of discrimination do those people face in the community? Like, this person is queer.
Yes. So already you've talked, if you are from a community setup already, by mentioning derogatory terms, there's the issue of hate speech.
All right.
When an individual comes out, they're given names.
Yes.
And that has dealt with emotions of people. There's also issues of discrimination when it comes to issues of job openings. There are some particular jobs that have prerequisites, such that if you're a trans person, because already if you are now a trans person and you are transitioning, there's an issue where you are even dressing like a man or like a woman, even when it comes to issues of the bathroom. So it's difficult, and the fact that there are legal issues in Zimbabwe, that it means we don't have gender markers.
All right.
Gender markers meaning people cannot be free to choose their gender, because if birth vele would state you're male or you're female.
Male or female, yes.
So, but someone feels, no, I have a vagina, but I'm a man.
All right.
So imagine if you're a whole man and you have transitioned, you even have a beard,
Yes.
and you're stepping up for an influential job position,
Yes.
even at a government institution, which really does not, cultivate an environment for that. So those are some of the discriminations you have. And we have had issues of corrective rape again.
Okay. No, I'll touch on that. But then I just want to ask, like same-sex marriages are illegal in Zimbabwe. Do you think the government should actually detect something so intimate, or it should be a personal choice?
Whether there's the same-sex marriage thing or not, people are gays. People are loving each other out there.
Yes.
And it's really an issue where people just want to be recognized.
All right.
That they also do have rights to express themselves accordingly.
Okay.
So there's even if the government would do that, I just want to bring a case study of South Africa. The government of South Africa and its constitution has the best constitution, and when we look at issues of the LGBT, it's really a resounding.
That's allowing, yes.
But I would just like to highlight the issue that the moment the constitution came and it's good on paper, that's when the hate crimes actually increased in South Africa.
All right.
So it's an issue where you can wake up today and say, let people marry, but are the communities ready? So there's a difference of what the government will say and actually what is happening in the community.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying Zimbabwe for now might not be ready for same-sex marriages, but it does not mean people in same-sex relationships should not endure those rights to marry who they choose.
Okay. Still on communities, what safe space exists and safe communities exist for those people are battling with sexual identity?
As I said, there are institutions that have been established to actually protect, promote, and support issues of the LGBT rights.
Yes.
To mention the longest-serving institution that is actually celebrating 30 years is the Gays and Lesbians Zimbabwe, which is a membership-based institution.
Okay.
And then if you come down to the southern region, we've got Sexual Rights Center, which has done a resounding job in the Matabeleland region. It's also 11 years. And then you'll find out when it comes to LB women, those girls speaks to LGBT, but programming has been mainly focusing on gays. The space has been very conducive for gays. The same with SRC, they've got 1 or 2 programs on MSM, men who have sex with men, gays, and also sex workers. And then for people who don't identify with the two I've mentioned, we've got other safe spaces for LGBT women, where we've got Voice of the Voiceless in Bulawayo. We also have TREAT, the trans education and advocacy training, which is doing an outstanding job for people to actually come out who are trans. And in the northern part of the region, we have Pakasipiti, which is also having their strength on policy for women, and also Rawo. And then there are other small institutions. Us as Africa Kiburi, we come in to look at issues of advocacy, though we do not create such a space. We're into policy for women's rights. So
you mentioned corrective rape.
Yes.
Can you just talk about it a bit? Do you think it happens in Zimbabwe? Does it happen?
Yes, it happens. But the fact
do you think, is there such a thing as like corrective? Is it corrective? Does it change anything at all?
Okay.
To the victim?
No. It damages, it breaks down the victim more.
Okay.
But it's not like an exorcism where the gaze just disappears.
Yes.
It does not, but that has actually damaged the individual and even the perpetrators.
Okay.
So statistics are very blurry there, because no one, it's difficult to go into the police and say you were raped for what, especially if it's going to be a court case scenario and you've got media there, the court case writing, because no one wants
that's
so
true.
You'd only notice these institutions have been very supportive, and the fact that there are few cases that have gone actually to court on corrective rape does not mean it does not exist.
Okay, so for the longest of time, we've had there are 2 sexes only.
Yes.
Right. So what does this leave trans and intersex people?
Okay. These these are legal issues, and as a society, we need to wake up and deal with it. The challenge we're having is that people are quote to know there's a male and there's a female.
Yes.
But it's known that at times when people are born, they've got two genitals.
Okay.
And medically, there's what they call the rule of thumb, where they look at which genital has been fully developed.
All right.
They keep that and they close that. So we do have intersex people, and you'll discover someone has a fully fledged vagina. They cut the penis, but this person has got a whole testosterone running.
Okay.
And then next thing you find, this person has a husky voice as they grow. They're attracted to women, and as they go in the streets, go to Wistabana.
All right.
But it's really society to blame, because by failing to acknowledge which there's an intersex. So there's actually a third sex called the intersex.
Okay.
But the Home Affairs will just talk about males, females, leaving those. And Impilo Bulawayo actually talked about statistics. Is it Dr. Ndebele or Dr. Ndube? You notice they're like 2% of the population every year. Kulabantwana who are born that way, but we have rubbished them because we've got this supremacy complex that we decide people's lives. So when a child is born and they're crying, we decide how they're going to live, it becomes an issue. With the trans, it's a bit difficult because it's not really a biological thing. But with trans people, as I mentioned earlier, it's where you feel you're boxed.
Yes.
You're caged actually in a wrong body. So when you talk about issues of body autonomy and you look at the Universal Declaration,
can we just like says trans can you just talk about religion? Right.
Yes.
I understand, like especially when trans, like feel like a cage like religion plays an important role on argument against sexual orientation, other than heterosexuality. What's your take?
It's unfortunate. Religion has been the greatest contributor and influencer to issues of gender-based violence.
All right.
And it's the church really has, because in King Ebakwana, the moment you go to church, you are told Ude Demon.
Okay.
So it's even difficult. Fine, we now have programs in the sector where religious leaders are now meeting with key populations to try and bridge that.
All right.
But it does play a role. But I feel religion plays a major role more on sexual orientation versus gender identity and expression.
Okay. So just to wrap it up before you take a break, what would you say to a teenager, like all queer, and where do you think really our society is going? Like in queer sexuality and all that.
This is the thing. This queerness has always been with us.
Yes.
And with the issue of the fourth industrial revolution, where everyone is having a phone and talking, it has been more exposed. Not saying it has spread.
Yes.
It has just been more exposed. So my advice is people need to find, for lack of a better word, mentors within the community.
All right. People
who can help them in the process, all the people who have transitioned, who they can learn from their journeys to say, how is it, what are the best practices to survive if you're in school, or if you're in a community and you're still staying with parents who are actually paying for your food, your tuition, and so forth.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's nothing amiss to feel you're queer, and you'll be shocked to wake up 5 years later, sexuality is fluid, and you're into straight people, and you suddenly say straight. Not saying anyone is bended, but it's a process, it's fluidity.
Okay.
So it's part of the journey.
Okay, thank you so much, Nozi. Can you just join us after the break as we look at the...
This podcast was produced with the financial support of the European Union and the Culture Fund. Contents are the sole responsibility of Aloud and do not necessarily reflect the views of the European Union and the Culture Fund.
Welcome back, Nozi.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just go through these questions and answers that we got from our audiences. The first one, the Bible says clearly that homosexuality is wrong. So, what's your take?
It's true when the Bible says homosexuality is wrong. It means back in the days before even Jesus came, this thing has been real.
Okay.
So it's wrong, it's right. Can we allow God to deal with people accordingly? No one should feel they are gods on earth.
All right.
And it's not everyone who subscribes to the Bible. So if we need to nurture communities that are sustainable, we need to acknowledge people have different opinions. Not everyone is Christian, and even if people are Christians, everyone is facing their own demons.
All right.
So let's learn how best to deal with what we have.
Okay. So social media personality suggested that children should be taught about LGBT at schools. Do you think it's
definitely?
Yes,
definitely. And you know, there's an issue with like they would say, girls shouldn't play soccer. The more they play soccer, because people don't even understand when we talk about issues of ubutaban, it's about attraction. It has nothing to do with the shift of gender,
with what you do,
lifestyles, and so forth. So if we start having real conversations with children who are still not cooked that way, it would actually help them as they develop to understand themselves, their sexuality as well as they grow older. So definitely.
All right. So I know a number of people who have to move out of the country just mainly because of their sexuality. I said that one has to leave their homes just because they don't feel accepted.
It's true. We've got many people who live on asylum.
Yes.
And it has been an issue whereby people have been abused from our communities. You know, there's name calling and so forth. And we have someone, even without having a passport, so that is what we're saying. You see, the person who can be saying that probably is a fraudster, a thief, a rapist, a murderer. But we have made as if murderers can feel home. You know, we've even designed prisons for murderers in Zimbabwe.
Yes,
but we're failing
to
because queer people are people, they're actually contributing to the GDP of the nation.
That's true.
It's not as if they wake up and they're just sleeping with women. These are people who have homes, who have families, who are providing, a livelihood. So we really need to create a safe space and make a home, a Zimbabwean home for every Zimbabwean.
All right. Gutwa, what happens when you want to have kids of your own, let's say a gay or lesbian couple, like not to adopt her?
Okay, so with not to adopt her, with females, it's in Bulawayo, I know of Dr. Moyo, a medical center. So what happens, you can get a sperm donor.
All right.
Meaning you can have someone who's volunteering to say, I'm willing to father, and then there's an insemination. So for two women now, what has been easier so that both of you feel the child is yours? Because most people would never think of a penis penetrating their vaginas.
Yes.
So that's the best way around it. So you have the egg, one fetal egg of another partner, being transplanted to the other woman who will be the partner carrying.
Wow.
So meaning even if you're carrying the child, but the egg is from the other party, so it's more like a unified pregnancy thing. So technology has made it
like in average, no one can afford it.
Well, I'm not sure, but of course you're going to need money because there are tests that are done and the whole insemination lab things, you definitely need US dollars.
All right. Okay. All right. My friend gay once dated a guy, and I was told this guy is living a double life. The guy was married, like Elabantwana and Lomfaz. But then this guy is living a double life. This side is gay and Ngapa is being a straight man.
Well, you have called it a double life, but probably he is bisexual.
Okay.
There are people who are attracted and can hit it off with both sexes.
All right.
And because of society, you now have a family, and there are children who are looking up to you, and you need to fend to. So that dark side, it tends to be interfihlwayo, you tend to be behind the scenes. But it's very common. It's very common.
Okay. The other one says that, does it mean that I'm gay or lesbian if someone from the LGBT asks me out? Like, it's worrying. Because as I was, do I look gay or lesbian?
Okay. It's a compliment, actually, when you can find someone also, hitting on you and they're the same sex. But it does not mean you're gay.
Okay.
It does not mean you're gay. It just
All right.
means you're lovable and physically you're adorable.
All
It
right.
does not, because remember, issues of orientation, it's about physical preferences. It's
All
about
right.
preferences on you, the orientation.
Not on the next person.
Not in the next person.
All
So
right.
people should not be worried. Really, it does not mean you're gay.
Okay. Kuthiwa straight people always assume ukuthi gays and lesbians are sexually predators. Like kuthiwa ngana lestabani is a raper. Like I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yes. It's a very disturbing brand
Yes.
in the communities, and that is why when people talk about istabana, which is a derogatory term,
Yes,
people
it
already
is.
see sex predators. People no longer look at, okay, who is this person when we're looking at them academically, professionally,
All right.
and so forth. And people are people. That's the thing.
Yes.
But the probabilities of you being raped are very few. It's a minute. If you look at the statistics, it's very minute of queer people who have actually raped
Yes.
straight people. Well, actually, I've never heard of it. But the issue is that with straight people, when the news breaks and someone knows you slept with someone gay, suddenly you don't want that banner. It's now a thing, as in they force themselves on me.
All right.
Yes, but most
Okay.
people are bi-curious. Most people would love to know.
They just want to know what happens.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, but by curiosity is when someone would love to explore.
Okay.
So yes, a woman can sleep with another woman, a man can sleep with another man, but it does not make them gay.
All
That
right.
was just sexual practice. So when you're bi-curious, you're flirting with a gay person,
All
you sleep
right.
together, suddenly you feel as if you're raped. No, that's not lit.
Okay. So Moyo, I would say I'm not against gays at all, but I don't understand why gay men always have to be more feminine than most women. Like they overdo this whole thing about mfaz.
It's an issue for affirmation. People need to understand. People go an extra mile to affirm. So when it comes to gay men and trans women,
Yes.
when you have been born man and you're really trying to affirm to yourself and to the people that
All right.
this is not it.
Okay. All right.
It's like a child who's trying to impress the teacher.
Okay.
It's not, to them, it's not about impressing the community, but you need to affirm yourself
Yes.
and the people. So it seems to be extra. To people, it's normal being female, but when you have transitioned or you're in a queer binary, there's always that imbalance. So it's common, it's expected, and it's lovely if they have the
Okay.
audacity to stand up and do what they want.
Okay. All right. The confidence and
Yeah,
all
the
that.
confidence, it
Yes.
takes a lot. Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Thank you so much, Nozi, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay. Njengoba ngihlala ngisishibazana nje ukuthi okungapheliyo kuyahlola. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you learned a lot about the LGBTQ society, and I hope imibuzo yonke ebelayo konke efuna kwazi ngayo. I hope all your questions are answered today. Don't forget that my name is Nozipho Moyo, also known as Mapo. I'm signing out. This is Girls Aloud, a podcast supported by Culture Fund Zimbabwe. Thank you.